Hi, this is Cheryl Mays from Rise and Shine CF, and I am so excited to bring to you today this segment of the Author's Lane. Every day we come to you with a different author of a different genre. These authors, they share their hearts, they share their inspiration, they share their motivation and the experiences that they've put into these books that you have the opportunity to read. And so I am excited to be able to host the Author's Lane. And today I am overly excited because I have with me Miss Juanita Vinson, aka Urban Lane. Hello, how are you doing? How are you doing, ma'am?
I am doing good. It's Urban Light.
Urban Light. Okay. Hey, you know what? I am so excited for a number of reasons. So let me first go through the formalities of properly introducing you. So here we have Miss Urban Light, who is a United States Marine Army. I'm sorry, United States Army. As a member of the United States Army, she is a poet, she is a musician, she is a community activist. She is also a recipient of the National Poetry Awards, as well as the Christian Spoken Word Artist of the Year. So I am totally excited. And in addition to all of that, she has had time to write a book.
Exactly.
Your book is actually called 10 Life Lessons I Learned from a Broken Heart. And we're going to hear about Urban Light and her book and the inspiration behind the book. But first, tell us a little bit about you, because you are doing so much in the community. And I love spoken word. My daughter's a spoken word artist. And I just, I bow down to you all that can just something happened. That can just come up with these lyrics that are so heartfelt and so personal and just kind of free flow. And I'm always in awe when I hear a spoken word artist. So I am very, very excited to meet you. So tell us a little bit about how all of this happened.
Well, I was writing from probably the age of 7, and I was put in a gifted writing class. And so a lot of times the thing that you've been purposed to do, when you look back over your life, you've been doing it all along. And so I was invited probably somewhere around 2007 to a Christian cafe. And they asked me to do something because they were trying to get talent. And I was in support, and I said, I will speak a poem. So I'd written a poem and I spoke the poem, and everyone loved it. And that's how Urban Light was born, because in the Atlanta scene, when I started doing the open mics, everybody had a creative name. And I was like, okay, well, what's my creative name going to be? And years ago, probably way back 15, 20 years ago, I wrote a short story that I submitted to Essence Magazine. And the name of the story was Urban Light. And so I became Urban Light. I went from there and I sought out the deaf poetry poets. And I will tell you that I was so grateful, because sometimes you have to do what you love to do for free. So I was going to the open mic, creating a name for myself. And the Deaf Poetry Jam poets had been on HBO, they had been on TV, and I reached out to Georgia Me, one of the phenomenal spoken word artists, and I asked her if I could go out on the road with her. And she's a Tony Award winner. She is a phenomenal, dope poet, and she allowed me to go on the road with her. And she took me under her wing, and showed me how to do what spoken word artists do. And I turned it from a hobby into a business. And from there, I began to get bookings, and I knew that I needed a product. And so I said, I need to write a book. And I had all my other spoken word artists that had CDs and books and T-shirts. And so I followed suit. I wrote my first novel, which was The Sisterhood of Insanity. And then after that, I wrote the 10 life lessons I learned from a broken heart. With the Sisterhood of Insanity, with my first novel, like I was saying, I followed the Master P plan for every gig that I had. I took the book, I put it in the back of my trunk. I had boxes and boxes of books. I had a manager at that time, Lori Edwards. Shout out to Lori. Hey, my girl. And she was my booking agent. And we sold over 10,000 copies, Cheryl. I wrote that book in 2011. That book bought a house for me. That book took me on trips. That book bought a car. That book paid for my children. And I left my 9 to 5 job, and I was making 6 figures a year. But I knew
Okay.
that writing was what I was born to do. I knew that spoken word was what I loved to do. And I jumped out of the box and I just let it all flow on the table. I had a mortgage to pay, I had bills to pay, but I knew that I knew that I knew that this is what I was born to do. And if I was going to do it, I was going to do it 200% and take the full force of my faith and do it. And I have not looked back ever since. And that was probably 2011 that I started going full time. And it's just blessed me to the point where my book, my words, the spoken word aspect of my business, it led me to be able to be free to do other things. And so one of the other things that I did was ministry. And so I answered my call into ministry in 2008. And so here it is. I'm a minister in the church. And when I'm going out at night, I feel like it's the same thing, inspiration through words, because that's what Urban Light stands for. Creative words, healing the hurting through creative words. I went and I started a foundation in Atlanta called Artists Against Violence. And what we did was I partnered with Atlanta Public Schools, and we would go into the schools and do spoken word contests for teenagers. And they would
Okay.
use like words to combat violence. And you know how kids, they love, to rap and do rap battles. So we do poetry
Exactly.
slams with kids, and we would make them put together words like, I need you to take and write a spoken word piece about stopping the violence. And then we would have like a protege. I partnered with the 100 Black Men. I partner. Hey, Mr. Lionel Woodyard, in Atlanta with the 100 Black Men of America, and Thomas Dort with the 100 Black Men of America in Atlanta. And I was able, through that organization, to come up with spoken word pieces. One in particular to inspire young Black males called "Good Black Men." And through that, I met so many activists. I met an activist by the name of Marcus Coleman in Atlanta. And I found out about Kendrick Johnson, and I went down to Valdosta and anywhere. We marched for Trayvon Martin, and then we marched. I mean, it was just a continuous cycle, unfortunately, but we were trying to bring notoriety through words for police brutality and all the violence that was going on. So it took off. It started off just with me speaking a poetry piece that I felt in my heart I needed to speak. It turned into a business. The business turned into ministry. Ministry turned into a foundation. And next thing you know, I'm on the Steve Harvey show. So it's amazing how when you do what it is that you were
You
creating.
know what's so interesting? I think it's your connection that keeps blacking in and out.
Oh,
You know what's so interesting about this is that full cycle. It's that cycle from where you started and how you actually use that gift to start your business, use that gift to find the purpose that you are operating in, and that purpose opened up opportunities. I am a huge, huge advocate of operating within your purpose because it finds opportunities.
yeah.
And when you're open to those opportunities, you'll be amazed at some of the things that will actually come your way. And you've been able to use this platform in a enormous facet to be able to not only help yourself and your family, but to help the communities and young men and young women and women in general. And so I look at this, and as people are seeing this, as readers are looking at this, writing a book stems from something that happens. And then how do you put it to words to be able to say, okay, now I'm going to release this to the public and let them hear, what I have to say, and hopefully it does something in their life.
Absolutely.
You told me something when we had a conversation. Now, and I took something from your bio where it says your motto is "Let the light shine."
That's absolutely right.
And so, share with us a little bit about what that means to you.
So I come from a theological perspective. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that I've been put in this world to, just like the scripture text says, it says, let your light so shine among men that they will see your good works and glorify God that is in heaven. And so a lot of times, people think that angels are these fictitious creatures with wings and things like that, but I don't believe that. I believe that God has created us to move so that we can help other people. So letting your light shine is not so much about living for yourself and living for your own, to heap up on your own self, but to see the positivity out of everything. So even the name. So my poetic name, Urban Light, came from this. So it was a story that I wrote. And in the story, there's an older woman named Hattie, the character. She's talking to this young lady named Pearl. And Pearl has gone through all of this. She's gone through molestation. She's gone through drug addiction. She's had a very hard life. And Hattie says to Pearl, she says, look out there, because they live in the ghetto. They live in the hood. They live in an urban area. And she said, the sun still shines every day on us. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, that no matter what situation that you're in, no matter where you came from, the sun still shines. And you can still, even when you're going through your darkest time, there's still some light somewhere deep down in you that you got to kindle up and let shine. Especially during this particular coronavirus time, there are so many people that are home right now listening to my voice. And I'm saying to you that there is so much that you're going through right now. And even in your darkest hour, there is some light. There is some reason. There's a purpose for your pain. Kindle that fire and let it come out. When I wrote the 10 life lessons that I learned from a broken heart, I went through heartache and pain. I was in ministry. I had gotten a divorce, and then after my divorce, I went through singleness, because I had been single, then I was dating, married, separated, divorced, and then found myself single again. And I was asked to give leadership to the singles ministry. And it was like 0 people. Then it grew to like 478 people. And I would hear the stories that so many of my members would come and share with me. And as a pastor, you're just supposed to have this listening ear. But at the same time, I was going through my own set of circumstances where I had started dating again. So I met this minister. And I said, just like so many of us sisters say, oh, God, then send me my husband.
That is what so many people say. Yes. That's my Boaz.
That's right. Yeah, that's my Boaz. He was wealthy. He was in the church. He was an elder in another church. And he was so intellectual, and we fell in love. And I said, we're going to be this power couple. It's going to be amazing. And so we started dating and everything, and he would go to my sermons and I would go to his sermons, and we would kind of, help each other out and everything. I said, we got to go out here and change the world for God. And then I found out that he was to marry another woman in his denomination. And it broke my heart. When I tell you, Cheryl, I found myself one morning laying on a pile of clean clothes, crying. And I had Dwayne Woods in the background playing Let Go, Let God. And I'm just crying. I'm like, where's my ice cream and my bonbon? And then after that, I heard the Lord say, get up. Your pain is for a purpose. And I began to write that writing gift that I had been given way back when I was 7 years old. And I wrote about why I went through what I went through. Because everything that you go through, there's a lesson in it, right? And the
Absolutely.
lesson is not necessarily just for you, but it is to keep somebody else from going through what you go through. So, like children, we learn through pain. So when babies are babies and then they touch the stove, they don't know the stove is hot. And then after they touch it, they're like, okay, that's hot. I'm not going to do that again. So if I can help somebody with this almost 5 decades that I done lived in this life, I need to be able to say, okay, these are things that I've learned. Hopefully it will help you. And so I began to write the 10 life lessons that I learned from a broken heart. And I took the things that the singles had said to me, some of the stories that they had shared with me. I took my experiences from being a wife and from going through a separation and then ultimately a divorce to dating and being in that single life again. I took all of those experiences and I sat down and I prayed and I anointed my fingers and I just began to write. And then the book was birthed. And it's been used for sister circles. It's been used for women's ministries. It's been used for women's conferences. It's been a huge blessing. What I have heard from these women, they've said it's been a blessing because unfortunately it was my broken heart. But if it can be a blessing to somebody else, then that's exactly why it was supposed to be written.
You know, that's so interesting. I think as people are watching this, one of the things that I love about books and what they do for you is that you find that you are not alone in your situations. You know, I think oftentimes people think it's only me, and so I'm ashamed, I'm afraid to share it, or I'm afraid to tell someone what I'm going through. And then you read something that kind of resonates with you and you realize that you are not alone. And I love that concept because you said something else to me, and then I have a couple of questions that readers want to ask. But you said something else to me in our conversation, and I wrote it down. And you said, "In the darkest days, we turn to the artist."
That's right.
And that was so poetic, and not only poetic, but it hit me down inside because when you think about where do we get our love of things from, it is from that creative element of people that you see that is a ballerina or a musician that taught themselves how to play the guitar, or someone, especially now,
Yes.
in this day and time when you are seeing so many artists that are using their skills and singing opera from the balconies and, doing spoken word online. And so there is so much. And so just kind of take us, what does that mean? Because I think right now that is so important because it's what's happening right now. We are turning to artists and saying, help me get to a better place.
Well, so many people right now that are quarantined and some are home alone. And to get through it, I know for me, I've done a lot of reading. So who am I reading? I'm reading these artists. I'm reading these amazing writers that have sat down to create a novel, to create a story, to create poetry. When I'm going through and I'm taking a shower, I'll put on the music and I'll listen to the music and it'll just soothe my soul. I'm listening to an artist. If I take the time to binge watch, if I'm binge watching All American or somewhere else like that on Netflix, then I'm watching artists. I'm taking time to look at these actors who have taken their time to go to a acting school to do what it is that they do. So we look to artists for our entertainment to take our minds off of these unprecedented times. And so, like right now, when you're at home, I believe that this particular artist, take the time out, read this particular book. I once believed that it was written because it's going to heal someone. It's going to have you to take some time to be introspective. And the way that it's written is that it's written with stories. Because
Okay.
I remember my pastor used to say to me, he used to say, well, you know, when you're preaching, a lot of times people won't remember what you said, especially after 30 minutes. But if you put it in a story, people remember stories.
There
And so
you
I was
go.
always a storyteller. I was
Yes.
like, you know what? That resonates with me because I can tell a story and people will remember. So in one of my stories in the book, I think it's the chapter that talks about rejection as a blessing. It talks about a young lady who picked a certain man and she didn't really have a whole lot of experiences. And so this one particular gentleman that she was enthralled with, they ended up getting together and it was just like something that she had never had before. And the thing was that she didn't have the experience, but he did. And so she fell in love. This was the only man for her and everything like that. Ended up getting pregnant, ended up having the baby, thought that this was going to be a family. And then there's that feeling of him, whereas he never really wanted her. He never wanted her at all. And now there's resentment. And that resentment turned.
Unfortunately, I am not sure what's happening with your sound
Can you hear me
back
now?
with us. But here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You kind of blacked out on us for a moment.
Wow. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. And so we were talking about, just for that moment of where you actually kind of went away, the 10 life lessons I learned from a broken heart, and you were sharing one of the stories that is actually in the book. And what I think for the readers is, guys, you've got to go to Amazon. You have got to go to Amazon. You have got to get this book. You have got to get the other book, The Sisterhood of Insanity. They are both available on Amazon by Miss Urban Light. Listen, this book, it's amazing because it's going to allow you a healing process. If you are looking for, we always have something in our lives that's going on. It's just always something
Yeah.
that is going on. And if you have the ability to be able to look at words on paper and find yourself, find
Exactly.
yourself in those words, find yourself in that situation, then you realize, you know what, I can get past this.
Yes.
I can get through this. And so it's always great to be able to have an author come and share exactly what the story meant. Where did it come from? And so we thank you for blessing us with this book, with this. And I don't even, it's beyond a book. It's an inspirational piece that will allow you to look at your life and know that you can and you will.
Thank you.
And so I have to ask you a couple of questions now. So you've had the opportunity to write this book. And so readers are always concerned about how much time does it take? Because if people that are right now homebound and they're probably going, you know what, I got a book in me. I've got something that I want to say. And so there is a process. And so some people, it's taken months, years, weeks. What's your process writing your book?
It's what you really want. I I believe I was born to be a writer. So like I'm finishing up another book right now. And I'll probably be finished way before we come out of quarantine. And then I've
Okay.
started on a poetry book. The process is to write. Just start and focus on writing the same way that you focus on anything else that you really, really want. If you really, really want to publish a book, it's not going to take you years unless you're doing research. So if you're having to do a lot of extensive research and that's the type of book that you're writing, then it may take you a longer process. But for a person that really wants something, ask yourself, what is it that you were purposed to do? And what is it that you would do every single day that nobody has to pay you for? When you say to yourself, and your answer is writing this book, then you need to get to it, because that's what your purpose is. And that's the thing that, just like me, I didn't know that I was going to walk away from a 6-figure job and end up having a book pay for everything for me and for my children. So this may be what it is that you were created and purposed to do. And so just like, Nike, just do it. If you want to write a book, start writing. Start from the beginning. Don't worry about the middle and the end. They're going to come, but just start writing. And that is how I used to do writing workshops. And I would sit there and I'd see people just wreck their brains. And I'd say, just start writing. And you would be amazed how when you start writing, things just start coming to flow. That's why you have an editor, because then the editor says, okay, I got to take some of this stuff out. My editor, I know she probably went through my book. My book was way bigger than what it was right now. The second one, the 10 Life Lessons of a Broken Heart. But she went through and she edited out a lot. So just start writing. The editor will do the editing, but you as the writer need to just start writing.
And that's another important aspect of what you just said, because I had the same experience when I wrote my book, is that you have to have an editor.
Yes.
You have to have a person that is designated, whose sole purpose is to make sure that nothing gets through that makes you look like you have no idea about the grammatical errors or, the English language.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you write from your heart and your passion, the there's that are there and the R's that are, and, it just doesn't come out in that fashion, although what it's supposed to say.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to find yourself an editor that is a good editor.
Yes.
That will allow you to go back and forth and say, okay, no, you can't take that piece out because that's the context piece. So there's that relationship that you need to have with an editor that will actually say, sounds better this way.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a huge, huge piece. I have another question for you, and this is going to be great for you just because of what you do. Everyone has a word for the year. And so this word is something that either grounds them, it brings them back on course when they've gone too far left or too far right, and it keeps you true north. And so what is your word for the year?
Intentional.
Okay, so share with us briefly about that.
I used to just do things just to be doing them. And I will say this, before coronavirus, there was a whole bunch of moving my body and being extremely busy, but not being productive. Mm-hmm. So I've learned, because this year when I came into 2020, I said, I am going to be intentional about how I use my energy, because I want to be productive and not just busy. I don't want to end up having 5 pots on the stove and not having a meal in the meal.
Mm-hmm. I love that analogy. Guys, listen, you have just been listening to Urban Light, the poet, the community activist, the author of 10 Lessons I Learned from a Broken Heart, and the Sisterhood of Insanity. Both of these books are available on Amazon, so please run over to Amazon and get them. And you can also follow Urban Light on Facebook. This is her Facebook handle that is on the screen there. So you can follow her, find out where she's performing, keep up with her, because there are some more books that's coming your way from Urban Light. This is definitely a purpose for her, a gift. And we thank you as readers for sharing your gift with us.
Absolutely.
One more question that I have before we part, and I always ask this question to authors, and that is, how do you feel about getting a review from a reader? Because I believe readers would have the purpose to be able to write a review. It would go so well, and it would do so much for the authors.
Absolutely. I love reviews. I am an advocate of open communication. I'm an advocate of especially creative people having a voice. And so your cup of tea may not be everybody's cup of tea. It doesn't mean that it's not still tea, but it just may not be their cup of tea. But a lot of times, most of the feedback I get is positive. But when there's feedback that's negative, you look at the source, but you also, you want to take the criticism. It's just like my grandmother used to say, it's kind of like eating fish. You eat the meat and you spit out the bones. But I believe in people being able to share how it is that they feel about whatever it is that they feel. And I love that. I love that freedom. I love reviews.
So there you have it. When you get this book on Amazon, and you will get this book on Amazon, definitely take a few moments. Write a few words, a couple of sentences, either on Urban Light's Facebook page, on Amazon, whatever the case. Just share how you feel about the book. We always want to know and hear from the readers exactly what you took away from the book, because it just kind of lets us know, are we on point? If not, then there are some things that we can do. Feedback is always powerful.
Yes.
So I would love that opportunity for you guys to share that with Urban Light. And I also have here another site if you are looking to follow her. This is urbanlightpoet.com. So you can follow her on that page. Also, that is your website.
Yes.
Yes. So you can follow her on her website. But whatever you do, you've got to get this lady, because she is healing every possible way that she can, and sharing information, sharing experiences, which we all need. And so I am excited to have had this opportunity to chat with you. I want to thank you for joining us on this segment of the Author's Lane. Please follow her. You have all of her handles. We will also have this information in the comment section for you to be able to follow her and keep up with the activities that she has going on in the future. And guys, remember, every day at 3 p.m., you have another author that is coming to you from the Author's Lane. You never know who you're going to meet. You just never know. So you got to come back every day, because you never know. So join us every day at 3 p.m. And then at 8 p.m., we have the watch party where you actually get to ask questions. So if you have any questions that you would like to have answered, you get answers right then and there. How cool is that?
Yeah.
This is truly an experience. So join us every day. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much, Urban Light, for joining us today. We want to say be blessed.
Thank you.
Yes, be blessed and stay safe.
Miss Cheryl Mays, thank you so much. I want to thank you. I want to thank Author's Lane. I want to thank you for this forum. And I want to tell all of your listeners, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Hi, hubby, my honey, my life partner, all that, the love of my life. And I want to say again that make sure that you all continue to let your light shine.
There you have it, guys. So listen, you have got to join us every day at 3 p.m. You never know who you're going to meet, but we always look forward to seeing you. Today, you had the pleasure of listening to Juanita Wilson, a.k.a. Urban Light, and she shared with us her book of 10 life lessons that she learned from a broken heart. So go to Amazon, get the book, join us again at 8 o'clock, and have a fabulous day. Thank you so much, Cheryl Mays from Rise and Shine CF.